Today, I have the honor of interviewing Temperamento, well known within the Latin hip hop circle. Temperamento's talents have immediately taken him to the top. He came out as a battle rapper initially, was well known across Latin America. And later, he found Christ and began to use his talents to spread the gospel. So now we're going to go ahead and interview Temperamento and talk about his musical journey, about his journey with faith, and what he's currently working on and future plans. What's up, my bro?
How you doing, my brother? How you doing? Looking good, man.
It's so good to see you. So good to see you.
Nice to see you too, brother.
My man. So I want to go ahead and tell the story immediately because, I had the blessing of being at your first show. And there was a guy, Sano In, who's passed away, rest in peace, Sano In, who used to organize shows in Manhattan.
Yep.
At SOBs. And I was performing that night, you were performing that night. He was organizing Latin talent, Latin hip hop talent, reggaeton talent from across the East Coast, right? From all the way up north Rhode Island, all the way down to DC, and a lot of New York talent. And you came on stage and you killed it. And everybody was like, who is that? And I had the blessing of being at that event. And man, your career after that moment just became global, became a global phenomenon, known all over Latin America. My family's from Chile, and you were super well known in Chile. Graffitis of you in Chile. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, my brother. So that's I just want to tell that story out the gate. You know what I mean? And then obviously we worked together, and you came to DC and all those things. But it's a blessing for me to have you here on Sunday. On Sundays, I love to have artists that have had an encounter with God and that use that through their creative process. And so with that being said, let's talk about your journey. I always like to talk about how people got involved in music, like the early part of the career, and we could work our way up forward. So on your musical journey, like how did you start getting into music just in general?
In music, so I grew up listening to hip hop from being in Puerto Rico till I was 9, Vico C, Ruben DJ, and all those cats. And then when I came to the US, I fell in love with Redman, with Black Moon, That's Effects, those guys, and then I started writing music around the time when like Wu-Tang first came out and Pawn and all them guys. So I came into the music scene in the era of the mixtape, the mixtape era. And but I really got known because I started using the internet to promote myself when nobody else was doing it. I was promoting myself on blogs, like I think the first MP3 on a reggaeton website was one of my songs because everybody had their system. It was either you were hot in Puerto Rico, somebody had to co-sign you, or you were coming out in a compilation album. And there was no Latin rapper that was really getting known from the US. So I was like, you know what, I gotta get in there somehow. And I got in doing like the diss tracks and stuff like that. And but above that, if you know about my early music, people from South America, they knew I dropped an album called Cadena Perpetua. That was my first one. And that album was just talking about life, about life. So, I started to create a movement in Latin America because I feel like I was the first like Boricua artist that was collaborating and representing the talent from all Latin America. When at the time in Puerto Rico, it was all about Puerto Rican rappers. You had to be from there. If you were Dominican, you had to move to Puerto Rico. So I think I came in kind of like, there's more talent out there. And that's how I came into the game.
Yeah, I remember that whole era. That's the early blog era. That's MySpace also. You owned MySpace. That was like, basically like you took it over.
I had 3 million plays. I had 3 million plays there when nobody else had. Like, I was promoting it hard, man. I was promoting it hard.
And it worked, man. It went all over. And then there was that, there was that show that we talked about, the first that we talked about at SOB's. Sano In was organizing all the Latin hip hop, all the Latin talent, the new generation was coming up.
Yep.
And, everybody was at those. Don Dinero was there.
Yep.
La Bruja was there. Chino Nino, right?
Yep.
Yeah, all those cats. T Weapons.
I think Malverde was there.
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
exactly.
People, man.
Yeah, a lot of people. So from that show, I think you immediately started making noise right after that show, and I think that even Don Dinero approached you and was like, "Yo, you want to be on like my album?" And then you worked with him.
Yeah, I think that show. So I was already making a buzz on the internet. That's how Sano In got in contact with me, and then I had one of my boys brought me to New York to meet Nori in the Hood Lab. I met SPK, Big Mado, and Gemstar came out in the album. So when Sano In brought me in, what happened there is that a lot of networking started happening. Don Dinero came up to me. I met Buddha from Buddha's family. They were in the show looking for Chino Nino and stuff. MC Ceja was there. There was a lot of people, and I kept going back to SOB every time he did a show because sometimes he had somebody from Wu-Tang performing.
Yeah,
and like he will have like legends. So it opened up the door for me to work with people who were doing the hip hop stuff in New York, and then it brought me to the people that started getting my music out there in a more professional way. And that's how me and Don Dinero had connected. And he kind of took over into introducing me, in Latin America in a deeper way.
Yeah. Did it surprise you when, Chile is far, right? Chile's like, that's as far as you can go.
Yeah.
It runs out of land after that.
So,
Chile, Argentina, Peru, Colombia, you were big everywhere. Did it surprise you when it was more than New York, more than DC, more than Puerto Rico? The area where you're from, there's a big Dominican population. So yeah, like you had the Dominican, that makes sense, right? But when you went all over, did it surprise you?
Yeah, man. And I remember people used to tell me, "Yo, I just came from Chile. I just came from or I will be shopping or in a restaurant like local."
Yeah.
And people start coming up to me with pictures and they tell me, "Yo, I just moved here from Chile and like we listen to you." At the time I dropped my album, it was, that's when people started like pirateando, like they started selling CDs like legally, you know what I'm saying? Bro, I swear, I was like, people were buying my CDs in Chile, Venezuela, like everywhere. And it didn't hit me until I started noticing that people were making murals of me in Chile. Like I remember there was like 2 blocks in a part of Chile where they had Black Royal and every graffiti and and for the 2 blocks, it was graffiti of me, and people weren't even allowed to touch the walls. That's how because I became like this big. It's almost like what Wu-Tang did globally. I was doing it in the Latin hip hop. I think a lot of rappers that were trying to get heard, finally felt that I was like their savior or something. Like I was coming to like represent them and get them out. So it was it wasn't just Latin America, bro. It blew up from South America and Central America to Spain, to all Europe. Like people in Suiza and like North Africa, Australia, people were hitting me up, and I was like, how is my music getting heard all over the place? Where at the time it was unheard of for an independent artist to be known worldwide. You had to be signed, and nobody knew what an internet rapper was.
Yeah.
Even with me, labels, I would sit down with labels and they'd be like, "Nah, we have our system. This is how we do it."
Right.
And I was like, "Yo, I'm getting known through the internet."
You
and
broke the system.
They were laughing at me, bro.
Wow.
And this was early, this was before MySpace. I was promoting myself on Mi Gente.
Yeah.
I was doing live cams on MSN, like shots. And like I would be in the studio putting the camera, and like thousands of people in MSN would be seeing me in the studio. Like I was doing that stuff, bro, in 2003, 2004. It's insane, man.
Yeah. Stuff kind of like this, because this is that technology, but now this is like smooth.
Oh,
like now they figured it out. You were doing it early.
Camps, bro. I was doing it early. I was just, I knew I had to do something different. I always wanted to be different.
Yeah.
Even when I rap with my style, my flow, my voice, I always want to be somebody that nobody can imitate, and that when people heard me, I didn't sound like nobody else. That was like my number one thing with music, because music to me wasn't something I was chasing. I wasn't chasing fame. It was more like therapy to me, and I fell in love with the chord. I fell in love with the history of hip hop.
Yeah.
I felt like I became a leader of it too quick, and I was like, "That's what's going on," you know. So that's how it happened. That's how I was born into the music.
Yeah, yeah. It was like it shows you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. I was there for some of these things. I can attest. It shows you, and you have a tremendous talent. I have the blessing that I've sat in the studio with you when we did this song, played the beat for you, and you have an incredible talent that I need to say it because you'll never say it. Eres demasiado humilde. You're too humble. But literally, you listened to the beat and you wrote the rap and you recorded the rap all within 15 minutes. A tremendous talent that, you know, you see, you hear, you watch documentaries where they're like, yeah, Jay-Z walked in and he raps it, or Biggie, he never, you know. I saw you do this. I've seen it with my own eyes. You sat there, and not only did you do it, you had the best verse on the song. You had the best verse on the song. These are facts. These are facts. So you have a gift. You have a gift.
And it was a type of beat that I wasn't used to.
Yeah.
And I went right in. I went right in. You know, it's funny. A lot of people, even now, I'll do like 3 features like in 20 minutes, and people are like, "Yo, how deep? Like, you don't even mess up on the mic. Like, you know, people gotta like thing." And I've been like that since day one. You know, I just I lock into the lyrics and it's just in me, man. I don't know how it came out, but it's there, and it's a blessing, bro. It's a blessing being able to rap. Yeah,
no, it's an amazing gift that you have. That's like, if you saw somebody, you know, in something else, the only thing I can compare it to is, you know, somebody who like a box and they could just knock everybody out. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a gift that you have that you just have it, you know?
Thank you.
You were on the song, and I wanted to ask you about it because it's such a dope track. It's from your early career with the legendary Immortal technique called Golpe del Style. How did that song come to be?
Wow. So, if anybody knows Immortal technique, you know, for people listening, he was a independent rapper that was huge independently. Like, this dude will sell out shows anywhere he went. And a lot of college kids like loved him. You know, he was political, things like that, and people loved him. So he wouldn't record with just anybody.
No.
With just anybody. So what happened with me was that he did a show in Peru, back in Peru. Okay. And he said that he got flooded after the show by a whole bunch of Temperamento fans. And they were like, "Yo, like, you gotta listen to this dude. Like, this dude sounds like he's bold like you." You know, like, he's not afraid. He heard me, and he knew I was from Providence, and he was like, "Yo, I want to record with this dude." So when he talked to me, yo, this dude, if anybody knows him, this dude had like his own militia, like this dude. Some other stuff. So he reached out to me. I did the song, bro. The song, I think DJ Green Lantern produced that album, The Third World. All the money was used for orphanages in Afghanistan, and like for the kids that were left without parents in the war. So all that money went into that. So we did it like maybe 3-4 years before the album came out. So I had even forgotten about it, and then I saw it came out with the Green Lantern. I was like, "Oh, snap!" But it was a crazy experience, man. Recording with Moto Technique was nuts because as soon as I started traveling after the album came out, like, they searched me everywhere. Every airport they stopped me, like, "Where you going?" It's like he was hot. He was hot, bro. Like, they knew I was associated with him through the album, and I did some moves with him, bro. Anytime I want to travel, bro, it'd be a headache because I had that connection with him. Like, he was hot. He was hot.
Wow.
FBI, looking at him, you know, I think he had a mixtape cover with like George Bush in the cover. And it was controversial, and people were like, he was very political, very political. But it was huge, bro. Like, being connected with him and doing that album, a lot of like Blanquitos started listening to me.
Yeah,
so that opened a big door too. So it was crazy, man. Not everybody gets to record with a legend like that, and I did. So you know, it was crazy. It was a good experience.
You killed it.
Yeah,
I mean, you killed it on that song.
Yeah, I remember he used to go to shows. He used to go to shows and rap it, and like the crowd would rap my verse because he was like the only. He hardly rapped. He never rapped in Spanish.
Yeah,
even though he
he
does
was
both.
Spanish.
So in this album, he said, "Yo, I wanna do Spanish with you in this one," and he did all Spanish.
Yeah,
and people went crazy, man.
Yeah,
they went crazy.
What a cool experience that was, man.
Yeah.
You talked about it. You touched on it a little bit about the graffitis and the murals and Block Royal. What was Block Royal?
So Black Royal started really. It was a record label in New Jersey. Actually, my wife's uncle was the one that was running the whole thing. His name was Crew. Rest in peace. He was Akon's road manager.
Okay.
So it was a record label that he made specifically to promote Akon. He had Joel Ortiz.
Wow.
Don Dinero as a Latin artist. So, they had a big movement that was going on in New York with the English, with Akon. When Akon blew up, he was still Black Royal in the songs and stuff like that, in the Eminem song, with the song with Lil Wayne. So Black Royal was respected by a lot of Americans, like artists. But when I came in, he kind of like, he was like, "Yo, I want you to promote Black Royal in the Latin," and that's really what got like I said, like the Wu-Tang, but a Latino thing.
Yeah.
That was Black Royal. Black Royal became that thing. The logo itself brought so many people together, and people were representing. There was a Black Royal Chile group. There was a Peru Black Royal, in so many countries, and they were doing it on their own because, again, they felt, because of the love I was showing them, where I wasn't just closing doors, I was recording with everybody.
Yeah.
They felt like, like we could really be a part of this movement, led by me and Don Dinero, because Don Dinero was really pushing it hard. So I think me and him were the ones that we took Black Royal to another level, man.
Truly, bro.
Worldwide, bro.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I remember people would have as you would just see profile pics, Black Royal, people Black Royal. And then remember on MySpace, you'd have they would show your top friends. Every top friend, Black Royal.
Everybody. Everybody. Yeah, it was Black Royal with the area code.
Yeah.
Black
Royal, the area code. Exactly. It was amazing. It was incredible. Incredible. Yeah. Before you found Christ and you started doing Christian hip hop and hip hop that had the message of Christ, you released several albums.
Yeah.
You have the last one that you did called El Mejor. Yep. You have another one, I believe, Cadena Perpetua, right?
Yep. That was the first one.
Classic albums. Those albums continue to push you and really increase the legend of Temperamento, where you had incredible songs. Both of them were amazing albums. You had featurings with a lot of really dope artists also. You mentioned Big Mato, T Weapons, Don Dinero. We talked about Immortal Technique. Really with major hitters.
Even Snow the Product, when her name wasn't even that, it was Snow White. She the first time she came out on a video on World Star Hip Hop was in a video with me.
I didn't know.
Yeah, we met her in the House of Blues in the West Coast over there in Cali, and she was passing out mixtapes, and we brought her to Dr. Dre's studio, the K&M Studios, to record for a Mexican album, a pop star that was over there. And I called her. They were like, "Yo, we need a girl to do one of these songs." I called her. She was moving that day to Texas because her husband at the time was in the military, and I was like, "Nah, you need to come here and record it." And she didn't even rap in Spanish. She rapped in English. She came in, she did a whole verse in Spanish, and the video ended up coming out in MTV3 for that album.
Wow.
Yeah, so she came out on my stuff before. She's big now.
Yeah,
she's the product, bro. Video games and everything. I see her everywhere. So
yeah,
I did a lot of music with even people that are big now. That at that time, they were just beginning and stuff. So it's crazy. The journey definitely was crazy for me, man.
Yeah, it's been and just doors opening and all these things. That older catalog, you don't really promote that older catalog.
No. Even the albums, you really can't find them on Apple Music and Spotify and stuff. I focus on the new stuff. I kind of when I first came out of prison, came out really radical. I got rid of everything, bro. I even threw all my weed away, which I regret because it's a part of my testimony.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a beautiful thing that happens within people that first have that encounter with Christ, where you feel like you just got to give everything up to follow him. So I had that experience, and I made the decision to let go of those albums, even though, you know, the money was good. Like, there was money coming in through that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was willing to let it all go because of everything that I found in him. So to me, it was worth it, you know, to let go of all those songs, you know. And it was so many, man. I did mixtapes too that were legendary, though. El Fin del Mundo, Hip Hop for Dummies, Volume 1 and Volume 2.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of stuff, but yeah, man, I took everything out, bro. I let everything go. I you know, as you know, in my journey, I ended up going to prison, and when I came out, I never looked back, man. I started following Christ, never looked back.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story, and it's you know, part of, I think, what makes artists so special, you know, part of why people always, even before where you're at today, identified with you is because you're passionate.
Yeah.
So, you know, in your journey with Christ, you're passionate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It goes with the territory. Tell us about, you know, when you found Christ and how that happened and that life-changing moment.
Yeah, it's crazy. Before, so people know I went to prison, and that's where a correctional officer led me to Christ in a prison cell. But before that even happened, bro, there was a good year, 6 months before that happened, that while I was making music and traveling and checking my messages on MySpace, like this constant, like, divine appointment with God, where people that didn't know me were just hitting me up like randomly out of nowhere with the same message. You know what I'm saying? And I told this story in a lot of my interviews. You know, there was a lady that hated my music. She used to tell her son, "Don't listen to that dude. He's the devil, right?" Because she was a Christian.
Yeah.
And one day she wrote to me crying. She's like, "I'm crying. I'm on my knees. And, you know, God just showed me what the plans that he had for you. So I just have to tell you, he's going to use you." And I had experiences like that all the time. I had a dude from Jersey that was hitting me up on MySpace, like, "Yo, let me talk to you about Jesus." And I was ignoring him because I was like, I don't want to talk about religion, you know. And if you knew my music, I was all against Christianity, bro. So it was crazy how it started happening. You know, I remember talking to Vico C one time because I was with TNT and Don Dinero when they were doing when TNT was doing the Daddy Yankee movie, and he told me, he's like, "You got to call that dude and apologize. That dude's the father of Latin hip hop, right?" And I ended up calling him and I apologized. And I remember, and Vico C, I disrespected him really bad on the personal level in the songs.
Yeah.
So, bro, he didn't tell me nothing but the gospel. Like, he started preaching to me on the phone. So I had that with him. Then Mexicano, when he had cancer, he calls me one day where he couldn't hardly talk, and he's crying, and I'm trying to console him and like comfort him in the phone, and he's like, "Bro, don't cry for me. I'm calling you because God's got a plan for you." And I'm like, "What?" So things started happening really weird. I remember one of the biggest drug dealers in my city. I bumped into him in a basketball court, and he's preaching the gospel to me, like, and he looked like a whole new person. And I'm like, "What is happening?" You know? So one day I go to church, you know, my wife, she tells me, "Let's go to church." It was on Mother's Day, May 9th, 2010. I go in, I got, you know, my braid, my watch, my big black royal chain. I'm in the back and I'm ready to leave.
Yeah.
And the pastor holds my hand. He's like, "Let me talk to you." Brings me to his office. And in the office, he's introducing me to another pastor. And he told me, he said, "You know, when you walk out of here, hell's going to break loose, but God's going to pick you up." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Didn't get it at the time. So Mother's Day. I go home. I'm getting ready to go see my mom. And I hear boom, boom, the door. And I look at my wife at the time. I knew I had, you know, I was making the music, but I was hanging out in the street.
Yeah.
So I was breaking the law. You know, I was involved in an armed robbery. So I knew that people were getting locked up and they were going to eventually come after me. People were kind of scared to give me up.
Yeah.
So for a whole year, I was like, man, like I tell people, I felt like I was more in prison being outside before I got arrested than when I actually went in, because it's not easy going to sleep with a bad conscience, knowing that at any time they can take you away from your family, you know. And at that time, my wife had given birth to my little boy Royal, and Royal was like he changed my life, man. He was like an angel sent to me, and when he was born, I started thinking. I don't know if it was the age or whatever, but I started thinking, like, man, like I gotta change, man. I gotta change, you know. I gotta change for my kids. So, you know, it was crazy, man. The cops came that day, and when I saw my whole hallway full of cops, bro, I felt at peace. I felt like angels came to pick me up, just like the pastor had told me, man. And I went to prison, and for armed robbery, man, I only got 22 years and 3 months.
Wow.
You know, which was crazy at the time, man. And I was grateful. I told God, you know, I'm gonna look for a Bible study. I'm gonna look for some believers in there. Like, I wanna know you. And you know, I told everybody I had 3 dudes. One of them was a drunk. Another was a, you know, alcoholic. No, an alcoholic. One was there for murder, and the other one, like, he was selling drugs. Like he had a crazy story. Like, he was selling drugs all over the world. But I remember these dudes telling me, like, hey, nosotros somos apartados. We're away from the Lord right now.
Yeah.
But we know God, and we see that He has a plan for you. So they kind of forced me every night, 8 at night, for a Bible study, and they would be like, yo, like, no, like, you're not hanging out with this dude. You're not hanging out over here. Like, we're gonna have Bible study every day at 8 o'clock. And from the day that started to the day I came out, these dudes discipled me every single night. And everything that I fell in love with when I came out, everything I fell in love with the Word came through 3 sinners that were in the darkest place. You know, there wasn't a church there to go to. There wasn't pastors, but God found a way to reach His Son, and I'm forever grateful for what happened in there, man.
Yeah, it changed your life. It put you on a new path, and through that, you changed, and you have an impact to this day on so many lives through your talents.
Yeah, definitely. I remember I came out in the 700 Club, which is the biggest Christian network on TV, on ABC. They came and they interviewed me, and that was watched by more than 24 million people in that whole year, because they kept showing it again, and they had it in so many other countries in different languages. And, you know, the testimony, people just seeing, you know, what had happened to me, it touched a lot of people. And then God, it's like you said, I had this way of being passionate in the world.
Yeah.
That it was like God was like, I could use this kid, man, because he'll talk, he'll open his mouth, he'll tell people about me. So I automatically felt like an evangelist, man. I felt like everywhere I go, everybody I talk to, like, I have to tell them about my testimony. I got to tell them about Jesus. And that's been the story for the past, like, 12 years, man. That's been me. And I've learned a lot. It's not easy. I tell people the Christian walk is probably the hardest life to live, because, you know, you're trying to live pure.
Yeah. But
through the seasons, you start to go through challenges and storms, and things happen, and people pass away, and you're tested. And when you're in those moments, you know, if you're not, like, grounded with God, and you're not holding on to Him, like, you're probably not gonna make it, man. So I've gone through a lot, but, you know, by the grace of God, I've overcome the things that have came, and at this point in my life, I just feel blessed. That I feel blessed for making the decision I make, because I know that it wasn't just for me. A lot of people have been blessed by my decision. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people have. I remember, you know, because I'm in the music scene also. I remember when that happened, when you got locked up, and then when you came out and you found Christ, and, you know, you were doing that. Yeah. And it was really interesting to me as an observer, you know, from a distance. And at that time, I wasn't really a Christian. Yeah. Right. So I was, that's interesting. And I wasn't against it. Right. Yeah. I believed in God, but I wasn't living. I was in the world, you know. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because for me, you were up here, and then you kind of went a whole different route. Yeah. But it seems to me that in the period of time from, you know, the last, let's say, 10 years or more, a lot of people have
found they found God, they found Jesus, and you have a lot of very talented, high level entertainers, either flat out, just doing Christian music, Christian pop, Christian reggaeton, urban Christian hip hop,
Yeah.
or they're still doing regular music, but they have faith. They're believers, and
Yeah.
that, I think, has been a change that has happened over the last decade. It's more. When you first came out, I feel there weren't that many artists. There wasn't really a very well established urban Christian market, whereas now it's big.
Yeah.
It's a big market. Can you talk to us about when you first came out, started recording your first albums, what that was like?
Yeah, so just to touch a little bit on what you said, I think for me, I think Hector El Father was like that dude he was with Jay-Z, Rock La Familia, and all of a sudden, he just gave his life to God. And so I remember, like you said, like you were kind of looking from afar. I was doing that with him before I went to prison, and I was like, he's just doing that because there's so many people are after him. He's trying to hide behind religion, right? You start judging, but when I came out, I was like, I understood. And it's crazy. I came out, and all of a sudden, from then to now, so many artists have gone through that, and, when you start to hear their stories, they knew they were going to church when they were little. A lot of artists, they were Christians before they got famous. So it's a crazy thing that happens. But for me, I started doing music, like, I'll do a song here and there, and I will drop a video. I wasn't really doing the Christian music thing seriously. I was doing like once or twice a year, I would drop something, and it would get like a lot of views and all that stuff, but I wasn't trying to chase anything or take it too serious. So that happened for like about 10 years, bro, until the pandemic hit. When the pandemic hit in 2020, that I had a group, but a lot of people don't know this. In my church, I started an English group called Psalms of Men.
Yeah, I've seen the videos.
Yeah, bro. And these videos, like, we came out of nowhere. And if you look at every video we dropped as a group, it's like 500,000 views. Like, it was popping off, and it was English. And I felt like God had his hand on that. And I was like, yo, this is cool, And then when the pandemic happened, a lot of people stopped making music and all this stuff. And I'm home, and that's when I felt that I was ready to do Christian music consistently, even though I don't tour. I haven't dropped a Christian album yet. You know what I'm saying? Which is crazy. But I said, you know what? Let me do it consistently because the message has to get out there and my testimony has to get out there. So that's when I started doing it. And from 2020 to now, bro, if you look at the doors that God has opened, it's crazy because, again, I don't travel and perform, and just last year I came out on Redimido's album. Redimido he's the biggest Christian artist in the world. There's not even an American Christian artist that has more views and followers than him. Crazy. And I came out with his album, and I look and I'm like, how did I even get here? You know what I'm saying? How like, I don't deserve to be in this album. I haven't been traveling the world and putting all this work, but the stuff that God has done, I feel that it has to do a lot with the way that I've been able to wait on God and trust him and tell myself, you know what, those 10 years, I didn't want to make music consistently unless I knew that I was practicing what I was preaching. Like, there was a lot that I had to learn. And I said, if I'm ever going to do that seriously, I got to make sure that everything I'm saying, I'm living it. You know what I'm saying? And I think it took 10 years for me to feel confident because I already knew I was living it. And I had people around me that even if I did travel to New York for a music video and stuff like that, I had people around me that not just love me or my testimony, but they love my wife and her testimony and my children. And they're with me to protect me. You know what I'm saying? Because again, it's not easy. It's not easy if a man goes out and travels the world and does Christian music all he wants, but he's not around the right people. There's a chance that something might go bad because
Yeah.
your flesh is always fighting with you. Nobody's
Yeah.
perfect. So I found a way to do it. In my own schedule, my own time. I say no to a lot of opportunities. I was supposed to perform in the Coliseo on March 11th,
Wow.
and I ended up saying no. And a lot of people, are you crazy? You crazy? And I'm like, it's hard to understand that some decisions that you make are best for your family, is best for your marriage, and that's the most important thing to me right now. I'd rather protect my testimony than take chances and go places where I'm really going to be around people that I really don't know.
Yeah.
And it's important for me to be around people that I know, that if I'm hanging out with you, it's because time has shown me that I can trust you, my family can trust you. So that's how it's been, man.
Yeah, man. And yeah, you're spot on. It's when you're out there in the world, we're humans. Like, you have to know that you have to protect yourself. You have to stay aligned.
Yeah. So and if you're an artist, people are looking to you as an artist, and not everybody that goes to church is saved. You know what I'm saying? So so I feel that for me, people are called to do everything because the gospel's got to spread everywhere. But to me, if I'm performing somewhere, I remember I did a show one time and the pastor was preaching and everybody was on their phones, bro. Like, I'm looking around and all the girls, everybody's on their phone. And as soon as I got up, their hands were up. They were all like excited with me and stuff. And I said, you know what? I don't like this for me.
Yeah.
For me, because again, the attention could be a negative thing to somebody that came from a world like I came from, where everything was about the flesh and everything was about lust. And I told myself early, if I'm gonna do this and I get my name out there, I'm gonna stay away from certain places just because I don't want to go through that again. And it's I tell my boys sometimes when I talk to them about this, when people that come into the faith, I tell them sometimes like bro, like there's certain places that I don't go to because I don't trust me in that place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's keeping it real, because again, nobody's perfect and life can, the enemy will throw stuff at you. So you got to learn how to be man enough in your faith to protect yourself and say, you know what? This is not okay. This is not okay. In a world where a lot of the stuff that Christians do is crazy.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, how come, how come you're never alone in a room with another woman or you know what I'm saying? Like, it's stuff that only people that are living in the faith understand, that are things that can save your family and your marriage, bro. And I'm living a life right now where I could lose everything and I'll be okay because I have Jesus.
Yeah.
And I also have my family who are right there and they believe the same thing and they're strong in the faith. So I'm just blessed to be where I'm at, man. And whatever God does with the music, I'm blessed by it. And I see that it's crazy, bro, because what's happening with me with the Christian music is stuff. I'm not planning it. I'm not with a record label. I don't have a manager, but God is opening doors, man. I'm working with the best of them. They respect me, but again, it's because they know that I'm living it. I'm not just rapping about it,
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Thank you for that testimony. You've been busy. I mean, you talked about like after the pandemic, but really, if you look at 2023, right? You've got the singles that you've been featured on in Cristo, Sniper, Pendiente, Seguimos en Pie. This is all just 2023.
This is recent, yeah.
And Ando con el Papa, which is blowing up right now.
That's the first.
Is hot.
So look at this. I came out in an album of a rapper called RBK Rubinsky from DR, who's a legend in Christian rap. I came out with his album. Funky, who's probably the biggest Puerto Rican Christian artist. He's the one that produced the El Que Había Muerto by Vico C. He's the one that I think he wrote that song, as a matter of fact. But he produced that beat for me in that album. I came out on Redimido's album. And then this Ando con el Papa, that just came out on the first Christian Dembow full album. So that's the first Christian Dembow album, which is all Dominicans in the album, if you hear that. I'm the only Puerto Rican there. I'm the only Puerto Rican. Dominicans love me. They respect me. I think
they know you. They know you.
Yeah, because, I represented them when I was in the world, and I was loyal to the movement. So, you know, they have a love for me, and they're giving me opportunities now to be able to preach the gospel. So I'm coming out in all these albums. Ando con el papá is not my style.
Yeah.
People know I love hip hop.
You kill it though.
Yeah, man, you're doing the Spanglish. I think my Spanglish itself has the flow has gotten better through the years, but I think it's because I've been open to do different styles and listen to, like, I got my brother-in-law who's an artist that I always do Christian music with. His name is Big Daddy. Yeah. He's the one that's constantly telling me, like, you got to try this, you got to try that. Yeah. Like, this type of music is what's lo que está sonando, you know? And as a hip-hopper, you don't want to hear that, but for God, I'm willing to do it. I'm doing
no, you kill it. It's a really, really dope track. I think it's a really beautiful thing to listen to up-tempo music, dembow style music, even hip-hop that's more up-tempo, and for it to have a positive music, for it to be praised music, you know? It's really good to, like, be able to listen to the lyrics, and for the lyrics to have a message in it. It's a message of God. And you do that on that track. It makes you feel good, right?
It feels good, and I think what's different from me, from a lot of artists, is there's people that do Christian music for the church, but there's people like me that I could do a song that it's not all about Jesus. I'm talking to you about people killing people in the streets, about what happens when people sell drugs and the people get addicted to the drugs, and you know, telling people, like, yo, like, be careful, you know. So I could do music like that where I'm directly talking to the streets. And it's like when you look at the Bible and you hear that Jesus had these parables, and, like, not everybody will understand what he was preaching because he had a certain group of people he wanted that message to go to. I feel like that's what I do with the music, where you could hear, like, a Christian, like a radical Pentecostal person could hear it, and they'll be like, that can't be Christian, right? But it's because they don't understand that it is. And the ones that are really understanding what I'm saying are the people who are selling drugs, who are out there killing people, and they're listening to me like, man, like, this dude makes sense. Because if you know about the streets, and, you know, me being in prison around killers, people that were there for time, you know, these people were the first ones to tell me, like, man, I respect you. I wish I would have lived that life, you know, because they lost their lives for gangs and streets that really didn't love them.
That's right.
I'm able to speak to those people thanks to what I've learned from the Bible and from meeting these guys that inside were telling me, Christian, when you get out there, tell them the truth. Don't let them come in here. I don't want to see none of your boys here. So I've taken that to heart, and I've made it my mission to speak that language that the streets can understand, you know?
That's beautiful. Yeah, they're like, it's not cool. It looks like it's cool on the streets, but it's not cool in here.
It ain't, man. I wish young people listen to their parents, man, right? Because you don't have to be a Christian to have a parent that tells you to stop hanging in the street with the wrong people, and we hear it all the time. And I wish I could go back in time just to tell my young self, like, bro, don't do this, don't do that, you know. But it's life. A lot of people learn the hard way. Some people go through some tough situations, but I'm just blessed, bro, that I'm able to speak to the kids in the streets, and you know, I hope that more people, even through this interview, there's gotta be somebody in there that's listening right now, like, man, like, I gotta give this life up. You know? I've had people, bro, that I ministered to one day, telling them, like, bro, like, you know, tomorrow's not promised. You gotta leave the gangs, and I hear the next day they got murdered, you know, because they went right back to it, and it's real, bro. When I tell you, you know, it's real. It's real life. The streets are real life. You know what I'm saying? So I tell people all the time, you know, it's no joke, and, you know, faith is a beautiful thing, man.
It really is.
You know, faith is a beautiful thing, man. It really, a lot of the stuff that's in the Bible is stuff that's in the heart, like stuff that we know, man. Don't kill, don't steal. You know, like it's good for us, man. It was written for a person to live a humble life. Now, not chase after money, not chase after other women, to love the person that God has given to you, and, like, all that stuff is in the Bible, man. You know, but and the darker the times get, the you know, it gets received differently, because a lot of people don't get it, and because there's a lot of Christians that do send out the messages the wrong way. You know, some people try to debate and argue with people, and you know, I've learned to be bold, but compassionate and understanding that if I'm talking to a certain person, I gotta kind of speak to their heart, you know, and not follow the crowd and start to attack and say, oh, you this, you that. You know, you can talk to everybody about anything if you do it in love. And the Bible says it. There's nothing, if you do anything, but you do it with no love, then that's not from God, you know? So I've learned how to do that stuff because I've lived it. I suffered and I went through the storm. So again, I'm blessed to be able to do this, man.
That's awesome, my man. Yeah, so you've been really busy in 2023, 2022, 2021, featurings, working with really big artists. If somebody wanted to work with you, if somebody wants to reach out and do a featuring, and it's, you know, it's the right type of message for you, what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, so I always keep it real with everybody. You know, I charge for my features. I don't charge a lot. It's nothing to you know, just for my time, because you know, for studio time and stuff like that. I don't close that door on nobody, bro. I don't care if you started rapping last night and you rap off beat. I don't care. I don't care. I'll work with you, you know, and I want to get to know you. I want to be able to share my testimony with you. So I leave that door open to everybody, you know, even though I charge. And once in a while, everybody understands that that's a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
The people that don't, sometimes I try to explain it to them. Like, they're like, oh, but you charging, you ask the money. And it's like, nah, because if I didn't charge, it's impossible to record with everybody that's hitting me up.
That's
impossible. Right. I say, so if I do that, I got to choose and pick who I want to record with. And I tell them, I said, if you hit up any artist that you want to record with that's up here, they won't even respond to your messages. So
that's right.
The fact that I keep that door open for anybody, bro. Like, I don't care if it's somebody that heard my music their whole life and they're like, yo, it'd be cool to jump on a track with him. Like, I leave that door open because I tell people when I'm gone, it's those people that are gonna talk about me the best. They're the ones that are gonna be able to appreciate what I gave them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. So I've been able to minister to people. There's people that have been saved through doing a song with me. So I do everything. I do everything, you know, through Instagram. I don't communicate with people in any other app, WhatsApp or Facebook. The WhatsApp, I have a certain group of like 5 people I talk to on there because they're on my team. But everything is through Instagram. So anybody that wants to work with me, they could hit me up, and I read every message. I'll respond to you if you want to work with me. You know what I'm saying? If you're talking to me respectfully, I'll respond to you and stuff like that. So, you know, it's been a beautiful thing. And I've done, bro, I think I've broken a record with how many features I've done. Even when I was in the world, bro, like, there's no way nobody ever recorded more songs than I have, man.
Right.
I'm the featuring king.
I love that. I love that. And talking about the king, another thing I wanted to ask you about was you have a clothing brand. Right, and you've got the crown right now. Can you talk to us about the clothing brand a bit?
Yeah, so it's crazy. So the guy that does my clothing, his name is Victor, and his brand is called Salvation Crowns. It's probably the most popular Latin Christian clothes line right now. Everybody, if you look at the top artists, they're all wearing his clothes. And I was praying one time. I was praying because I wanted to bless a ministry outside of the church, you know, and I was praying. I was 2 weeks fasting, and he hit me up with his testimony. So he got led to the Lord after hearing Abre Tu Corazón, which is one of my songs.
Yeah.
So when I heard that, I was praying about it, and he was already doing shirts for like Goyo Music, which is another artist, and he was, you know, trying to get more artists to wear his clothes. So he hit me up just to congratulate me and to share his testimony. And I was like, you know what, bro? And this is a true story. I told him, I said, yo, can you make my clothing line? You know, the hats, the shirts, bro. And I told him, I said, I don't care how famous you get, how big you get, or how successful. I don't want a penny. I don't want a penny from you. I don't want. I want it to be a blessing. I've been praying about this. I want to bless somebody. So, till this day, you know, he'll sell the clothes, you know, and it's 100% for him. But the blessing with that is that for like 3 years. I don't have to buy clothes because he sends me clothes like every 3 months.
That's a good one. And you look fresh.
I'm always fresh because of him. I'm always fresh. So, the Bible says it's better to give than to receive.
Yeah.
And I think my testimony with him really tells that story, that sometimes when you do give out of your heart, out of love, you get blessed in a way that is crazy. So imagine, bro, I don't even have to go to the store because he's taking care of me and I'm looking good. So big shout out to Victor, Salvation Crown. So if anybody wants this, the shirts, they could go to his website, salvationandcrowns.com, and he's constantly selling merchandise, not just mine. There's a lot of artists like Guerrero de Cristo.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of guys. Real Johnson, Big Daddy.
Yeah.
Big Daddy got a dope brand called Believe in Dios. So in that website, he sells everything, man. And again, bro, the stuff that God has put me through and the stuff that he's asked me to do, I've done it out of crazy faith, but it has brought me the biggest blessings, bro.
Yeah.
I'm so blessed by these things. So that's where you can find my stuff.
That's beautiful, man. That's dope. So you've been releasing a lot of music. We talked about featuring King. Are you thinking about Temperamento Christian album? That you put out as like an album that's your first album that you do. That's a full-on Christian album. Are you putting that together? What are the thoughts on that?
Bro, I'm gonna break a lot of people's hearts. They're listening to me now. So I decided this year I was gonna drop an album. The problem with me is I specifically been praying about this for 10 years about how to do it. So I have specific prayers of things that I want to see while I'm doing the album.
Yeah.
And I was doing the album for a few months, and the songs are dope, but things ain't coming out the way that I thought. So I'm gonna put a pause to it for now. I think, but a lot of those songs I am gonna release, which are crazy songs, bro. Crazy songs. The last time I was gonna do this was in 2020.
Yeah.
But at that time, I felt like I had to get in the back of the bus and begin to promote myself and not think I was like the man,
Yeah.
So I had a whole album, but I'm like, I haven't really put in the work for people to really hear me in the way that I wanted to. So a lot of the songs that I was doing for the album then, which was with a producer from Chile at the time, I took out singles for like 2 years. So Cuna de Lobo, which everybody loves. I performed this live in a virtual concert on YouTube, and it was with artists from different genres and stuff, and I did the Spanish hip hop, and that song, bro, is so deep. So I did a lot of songs that are out there now that came from those songs I was doing for the album. So I think I'm gonna do that now. I got a dope song that I'm gonna do called Revival. I think a lot of people are gonna be blown away by it, because if anybody understands the concept of revival, it sounds like it's a good thing. But when revivals happen, it's like conviction, like God, like convicting people. So the song is literally that. And people from the streets and people from the church are going to be like, wow, this hit me.
Wow.
So I'm ready to record that and do, like a simple video to it and things like that. But I'm praying, bro. I'm praying. I think it would be awesome to do an album with a producer that I can work with in person, because we live in a time where every feature is everything is online. You're not
everything's virtual.
Yeah, and you're not with the team in the studio really working everything. So I'm praying like, God, like bring me somebody that is willing to do a whole album with, and I promise if you're a producer out there, I'll do a whole album in 2 days. Trust me. I've done it before. I used to do mixtapes in 24 hours with my boys, man. So it's possible, but again, I want the right people. I want God to send the right people. Not that the people I've worked with haven't been the right people.
Right.
But there's something about what I feel God wants with this project. I feel like it has to be intimate. If it's for Him, even though I'm speaking to the streets, while I'm in the studio, I want it to be intimate, and I want to make sure that everybody I'm working with is really like pressing in and believing that this is going to touch a lot of people. So if you're out there, pray for me, pray for the album. I would love to do it. I would love to do it. But I need that one producer that's not going to gas me up for a month and then tell me like, hey man, I'm sorry, I really can't do this right now and stuff. You know, it
Yeah.
happens, life happens. So I'm looking for something intimate, somebody to just lock in with me and say, yo, we're gonna do something dope. And
Yeah.
you know, album where I'm like hardly doing choruses. I'm just rapping and I'm just letting it all out.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I understand what you're saying because, as we mentioned earlier, I've been in the studio with you before. It's not a problem of releasing songs. You have lots of songs.
Yeah.
You want to create something.
Yeah.
You want to go in with a producer, the right engineer, capture a moment in time for the music to be right, for everything to come together organically, for it to come from God. And then that's when you're going to release an album. Old school. That's how it used to be done.
Because, you know, back in the day, we would be in a studio, and if you spoke about your life on a song, you would shed some tears in the booth. Like, you would cry in the booth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that happens to me when I write, and I'll send a verse out to somebody to engineer and master. I'll cry, bro. Like, I mean what I say. But if you're producing for me, I want you to be there with me. Like, if I'm crying, I want you to be crying. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want it to touch you. I want you to tell me, like, bro, like, that touched me. Because I know that if it goes out there, it's gonna hit deep. You know? And that's what I'm looking for. And, you know, if it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. But I think it will. You know, in 3 years, God has done a lot. So I'm believing in his time.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The good news is that you have a lot of singles and you're going to be releasing music.
Bro, I'm going to come out in so many albums. And it's like sometimes, like, I don't think there's been, like, a 2-week period without a song of mine coming out on somebody's album or a single or one of my songs or one of my videos. It's just, like, constant. And what I like about the Christian artists is that they go all out, bro. Christian artists don't play. They work, bro. They work hard, bro. And so, you know, it's been a blessing, bro. You know, I got the opportunity. I know I saw Katic Drums in the chat here. Katic Drums is a producer, a big time producer who, like, bro, some of his songs are on Netflix right now. You'll hear them like in the NBA Finals, like all types of stuff. So recently we had submitted a song for the Spider-Man Verse movie, which came out so dope. They didn't take it for the movie, but it's coming out in his album.
Okay.
But bro, I'm working with people, like, I'm telling you, I get phone calls from people that I'm like, God, like, wow, like, I'm not looking for this stuff, but people, I think, even with the many years that I've been doing this, bro, more than 20 years, 24 years, I've been rapping, you know, and the fact that people still believe that I got the talent for the generation of now to hear me. Bro, that's a blessing, bro.
It's a blessing.
You know, usually, like, you'll hear rappers and people are like, oh, but he still sounds the same from like 20 years ago. But, you know, for some reason, man, the music I'm doing now, people are like, yo, like, you sound like you just started rapping yesterday, bro. And like with the best flow, with the best this, with the best
flow.
So it's been a blessing, bro. I'm blessed to be here, man. I'm blessed to talk to you, bro. Thank you so much for the opportunity. The fact that you're letting me talk and you're not cutting me every 2 minutes. Woo! Like,
your testimony is incredible. Your story is incredible, and you're a tremendous talent. I want to make sure you get a chance to do one thing before we start the wrap. Tell me about your church. Shout out your church. Shout out you know, people that you want to put on, and make sure that we capture that.
Amen. Thank you, bro. Church is really important to me. Anybody that knows me knows that I've been in the same church for 12 years. I tell people that, you know, when you live a life like me, where, you know, my dad committed suicide at a young age, you know, to me, it's like he went the wrong way, you know what I'm saying? And being in a church, I always tell people, you know, people that go to church, they go through difficulty because sometimes they get offended, sometimes they don't agree because they don't understand what the pastor is saying and they take it the wrong way. And people, you know, it's a family. So families always drama, right?
Yeah.
So especially I tell people, being a Latino, you're always offended with something. You got this Latino pride, right? So somebody tells you something, you're like, I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with you. But I've learned, I've decided that I don't want to run like my father did. I don't want to be going from house to house relationship to relationship. I want to be grounded somewhere where I remember I told my pastor one time, I said, man, if you decide to leave this church, I'm staying and I'll wait for you to come back. You know, I'll be here with my arms open, you know, because it's important for me. So, you know, shout out to my church, Legacy Church. Shout out to my pastors, Pastor Ron, Pastor Jared. Pastor Jared, he became a pastor like I think 2-3 years ago. And when I first came out of prison, where I couldn't find an apartment or anything because I had my felony, he took me in and he let me live downstairs from his house. And now he's my pastor. So I got an awesome testimony with my church. You know, it's called Legacy Church. We live in the smallest state in the United States, in Rhode Island, and God is doing such amazing things. You know what I'm saying? I decided to stay in Rhode Island. I believe that God, you know, I was raised here for a reason, and I'm still here for a reason. So I'm believing for big things for my church, and I wouldn't give my church up for nobody, bro. I don't care. You know, it doesn't matter what happens. I'll still represent the church, and if problems come, I'm always part of the solution. I'm always part of being the peacemaker and looking for a way to make things right, you know. And you know, so shout out to my church. I love you guys.
That's beautiful, man. We talked about how people could connect with you for featurings. The best way is Instagram. Anything else that you want to tell the people before we wrap up about what you got popping off in 2023?
Amen. Just keep connected with me through Instagram, because I do have a YouTube channel. But what I do a lot on my story, like every week, I'll put my YouTube playlist. So I have a certain playlist where even if you go on my YouTube channel, you go to playlist, I have a playlist of like 50 Christian videos that I've done. And then I have a playlist of 4 hours of Christian music that I've done on my Apple Music. So I'm constantly sharing that with people through my Instagram. I got a Facebook page. But again, even my Facebook page, if you write to me, it'll tell you to write to me on here. You know, and if you read my Facebook page, it's funny because I tell people to hit me up on Instagram, and I even tell people if I ever do anything live, if you ever notice anything that you think is not Christian-like, feel free to comment on one of my comments. Tell me, like, you know, because some people there's a lot of Christians that don't believe in the earrings or the tattoos and the long hair. And I tell people it's okay for you to go against me and do whatever, but just do it respectfully. And I'll write back to you, and we'll talk about it. You know, what I've learned being a Christian, and things like that. So I'm open to everybody. You know, people who hate me, people who love me. You could hit me up through Instagram, and just be, como se dice, just be on the lookout on my stories and stuff, because I'm constantly putting out the right links and the right content for you to find me outside of Instagram. But I like that I'm always here, because it's like Instagram is my social media home, where if you're looking for me, you're gonna find me on Instagram. So, you know,
that's smart.
Feel free to hit me up, and you know, even if it's for advice, depending on what you're going through, I have such a beautiful church family that if somebody hits me up with a certain thing, I already know who to connect you to. I'll be like, yo, you know what? I got somebody that can speak to you in that area. So everybody's welcome to write to me on Instagram.
That's beautiful, man. You know, a lot of your music and a lot of the world that knows you, your music, a lot of it's in Spanish, and a lot of the world that knows you is through Latin America. I think it's probably worth it just to give them a couple of minutes, you know, just something in Spanish, because we did the interview in English. You have the blessing, I have the blessing that we're bilingual. Some people don't understand English as much. Entonces, para la gente de habla español, queríamos dar unos pocos minutos para que Temperamento pueda dar un saludo y hablar un poco de cómo contactarle, dónde él vive en las redes y los planes que él tiene para 2023.
Amén, amén. Si estás escuchando, como saben, siempre estoy haciendo en vivo en español. Esta vez queríamos hacer una entrevista en inglés, porque hay mucha gente que me ha conocido a través de música spanglish y inglés y cosas así. So, you know, si estás escuchando y no entendiste esta entrevista, lo estamos haciendo para poder llegarle a más personas con el mensaje del evangelio. Espero que como quiera sea de bendición para los que se quedaron aquí, pero básicamente lo que estamos haciendo es compartiendo testimonios y también dejándoles saber a ustedes que si quieren contactarse conmigo para grabar conmigo, para hablar conmigo, tienen la libertad de hacerlo en Instagram. En Instagram es donde yo me comunico con todo el mundo. So, si tienes una pregunta, si quieres decirme algo, si sabes inglés y escuchaste este testimonio y me quieres decir, wow, Cristian, esto me tocó, comparte tu testimonio conmigo porque me ayuda a mí a saber de qué tengo que hablar para la próxima entrevista. So, muchas gracias, los quiero mucho. Ustedes son parte de mi testimonio. Estoy bien agradecido con ustedes. Y sí, sigan, síguenme en las redes y comparte mi música porque hay mucha gente que todavía necesita escuchar el mensaje. Los quiero mucho. Y ya sabes, hermano, bro, super blessed por lo que tú estás haciendo, lo que has hecho, and I love you, bro. Thank you, bro.
Thank you, my
I'm so
brother. I
grateful.
love you.
Grateful.
Yeah, it's been, I've known you for a long time at this point. It's been an amazing journey. And I hope to be doing something with you, whether it's an interview or whatever, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now. Amen. You know, I just want to say something as we wrap up. You're an incredible talent. And I want to thank you for everything you've done for Latin hip hop, for everything you've done for rap en español, for everything you've done for Christian rap, and for el mensaje de Dios y de Jesucristo, and all the people that you've touched with your message and with your testimony. And I think the best is yet to come.
Amen. I received that, brother. I received that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, brother. Okay. Thank you so much. And we'll do it again at some point. God bless you.
Saludos, mi gente. Nos vemos.